Several other channels have already talked about this, but I wanted to give my 2 cents on it. Anthony Joshua's sparring partners ahead of his showdown against Alexander Povetkin on the 22nd of this month, September. He's here with Martin Bakole, who is a Congolese heavyweight based in the UK, and Kabayel. Is his first name Ajit? Is it Ajit Kabayel? I think it is. It's a very common Turkish name. Ajit Kabayel, who is the European heavyweight champion. I think he's based out of Turkey, not based out of Germany. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he's based out of Germany. But he's certainly a Turkish fighter, let's just put it that way. Neither one of these guys, stylistically, or in terms of their physical dimensions, are similar to Alexander Povetkin. I've also seen Anthony Joshua sparring Fraser Clark, a top British amateur, and he's also nothing like Alexander Povetkin in terms of his physical dimensions. So you do want to see a fighter sparring somebody who is stylistically somewhat like the opponent he's about to face. Who could Anthony Joshua get in there for sparring that would be similar to Povetkin? Chisora maybe? I know there's always some overzealous nitpicker who wants to come in and critique every little word that you say with a go for everything you say with a fine-tooth comb. So for those people, I'm not saying Chisora and Povetkin are exactly alike. What I'm saying is they're around the same kind of height. They both like to come forward. At least Chisora can come forward. These days he likes to counterpunch on the ropes a lot, but I'm sure if he was in sparring with Joshua, they could tell him, look, go forward and try to be as Povetkin-like as you can. I'm sure he'd be able to do that. Now, Chisora and Anthony Joshua sparred a lot when they were both at Finchley. Okay, at the Finchley Amateur Club. They both sparred a lot there. I don't know whether they've ever sparred as professionals when they've both been professionals. I think they were still sparring when Chisora was a professional and Joshua was an amateur, but I'm not sure if they've ever sparred when they've both been professionals. I'm unsure about that. And by the way, some people have talked about Derek Chisora and why Eddie Hearn is not keen to put Joshua in with Chisora, because Eddie Hearn has said if Dylan White beats Chisora, if he fights Chisora in December, and they can't make the Wilder fight for April, then it's very likely that Joshua will fight Dylan White in a rematch in April. But if Derek Chisora was to beat Dylan White, it's unlikely that Derek Chisora would fight Joshua in April if the Wilder fight can't be made. And some people are saying, well, that's not right. What's that all about? Well, what it's all about is the fact that Derek Chisora has expressed zero interest in facing Anthony Joshua throughout his professional career. Yeah, you go back and look at the interviews that Derek Chisora has done, even after the Takam fight. Even a couple of years ago when he was asked about fighting Anthony Joshua, he showed no interest in fighting Joshua at all. Maybe it's because they have a friendship. Maybe it's some other reason. Maybe it's just because Derek Chisora thinks that would be the end of his career if he fought Anthony Joshua. I don't know. He turned down the Joshua fight a couple years ago and took on Kubrat Pulev instead for about 4 times or 5 times less money. Facts. People say Derek Chisora don't duck nobody. Well, he ducked Anthony Joshua. Facts. And even recently, as I say, after the Takam fight, you go look at the interviews. He's shown no interest at all in fighting Anthony Joshua. So that's why Eddie Hearn says that Chisora is unlikely to be fighting Joshua. It could just be their friendship. I don't know. Or it could be something else. But yeah, that's unlikely to happen. But would Derek Chisora help Anthony Joshua? Would he spar with him in preparation for the Povetkin fight? Because these guys are, decent enough sparring. But are they the right sparring for Povetkin? Not so sure. Martin Bakole, let me call him Bakole. I think I might have called him Bakole. That's how you pronounce Lawrence Okole's name, by the way. I've had a few people coming at me sideways about the way I pronounce names. Listen, if I'm pronouncing a name incorrectly, I'll tell you I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. Yeah? When I say a name a certain way, I'm normally saying it the correct way. Yeah? Unless otherwise stated. Like, for example, somebody tried to pull me up about the way I say Berman Stavern. I say Berman Stavern instead of Bermain Stavern because that's the way Stavern says his name is pronounced. When Stavern first came on the scene, I was calling him Bermain because it's got an E on the end. I was calling him Bermain. But I saw several interviews with Stavern where he was saying, my name is not Bermain, it's Berman. Call me Berman, don't call me Bermain. So I was like, all right, cool. Don't throw a fit. I'll call you Berman if you want. So since them times, I've been calling him Berman. How did I get onto names here, people? I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, back to the sparring. Martin Bacoli, that's how I got it. I'll call him Martin Bacoli rather than Bacoli because it's Lawrence Okolie. Okolie is how you pronounce Lawrence Okolie's surname properly. Okay, I know even Lawrence himself will say Okolie and he'll use the anglicized pronunciation for the sake of, the fans and whatever, most of who are not Nigerian. But I've been told by Nigerian people, and I know a lot of Nigerian people, that's why I was pronouncing it Okolie in the first place. I know a lot of Nigerian people, and I know that's the way it's properly pronounced, and that they've confirmed to me, even in the comments of my videos, that's how you properly pronounce it. Anyway, let me stop waffling on here, get back to the topic. Topic at hand. Martin Bacoli, or Bacoli, is shorter than he is build, because he's supposed to be 6'5", I think, Bacoli, but there's no way this guy's 6'5". I think closer to 6'4", 6'3". From what I've seen of him, I've seen him standing next to Joshua, who's 6'6". So to me, he looks a lot short, but he's still not as short as a Povetkin. Povetkin's way shorter. Let's just put it this way, all right? Long story short, Povetkin is getting more accurate sparring than Joshua's getting. Povetkin's been sparring people like Daniel Dubois and other guys whose styles and stature are more similar to Joshua's than the likes of Bacoli and Kabayel and Fraser Clark's styles and statures are similar to Povetkin. Now, if you know of anyone else that Anthony Joshua's sparring who is more similar to a Povetkin, then let me know. I'll be interested to find out exactly who they are. But from what I've seen so far, his sparring has not been that accurate in terms of the fighters that he's been in there with. That's what I mean by accurate, in terms of how similar they are to the opponent he's going to face, which is Povetkin. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm sure some people are going to talk about this comment right here. It is what it is. Trolls will be trolls. The last thing I'll say is, I'm a glove connoisseur. I like to talk about boxing gloves. These are UK ringside gloves. I'm not sure exactly the name of the model of these particular gloves that Martin Bacoli's wearing, but these gloves are fairly decent gloves. Mid-level professional sparring gloves. They're fairly decent. The leather quality in the past on ringside gloves, I've found, hasn't been as good as the leather quality in some other brands. And, there's a few things that I don't particularly like about these gloves. Like, for example, it's not that easy to open up the palm on any ringside gloves. It's not so easy to open up your hand because of the way the glove is designed. But they're a decent glove. The padding is relatively good, but it's not that thick. So if you are a serious puncher, make sure you wrap your hands well in these kind of gloves. So he's wearing those. These cost about, 120 UK pounds. That's what they cost. So mid-range. Then you've got what Anthony Joshua's wearing, which are the classic Rival RS1s. This is probably the best sparring glove that Rival make, in my view. And they're particularly good for heavy punchers and heavyweights in general, is this glove. The hand compartment is very big, particularly on a pair of 18-ounce gloves, so you can fit your wraps in there and all that kind of business fine. And you won't need to wrap your hands that heavily unless you've got really fragile hands in these gloves, because the padding on these RS1s is second to none. They've got tremendous padding and a very ergonomic design. Your hand feels very comfortable in these gloves. Again, you can't open your hand up very easily in these gloves at all. So if you're somebody who likes to catch punches, these might not be the gloves for you. But in terms of providing protection for your knuckles and just comfort when making a fist, these gloves are excellent. And I also like the design of the lace track system on these gloves. Very, very good lace track system, and just a very well balanced glove. I know they do look bulbous, but when you put these gloves on, the RS1s, they feel very, very well balanced. They don't feel as top heavy as they look. Let's just put it that way. So Joshua's wearing those, and then Caballero is wearing these Rival Guerrero sparring gloves. And as you guys know, who saw my video a few weeks ago, I've got a couple pairs of these, and they're handmade gloves, so there's not so much uniformity from pair to pair. Each pair can feel quite different on your hand because they're handmade rather than mass produced like these. But they're a good glove. The padding on these is not as thick as the RS1s, but it's more firm. The padding on these, certainly on the pairs that I've got, is firmer than the RS1 padding, which kind of makes up for the lack of density. But for me, they're not quite as comfortable as the RS1s. The RS1s to me are a more comfortable glove. What I'll say is though, these Guerrero sparring gloves here, the Caballero's wearing, the leather quality is better. Yeah, not that the RS1 leather quality is bad, but the leather quality in these is noticeably better. Yeah, thicker quality, thicker leather, has a much stronger leather smell, and yeah, just a better quality leather on the Guerrero. So they might last longer, but for comfort, the RS1s are the way to go. Anyway, how did I get on to talking about gloves? I could just talk for days, people. I really can. Anyway, let me know what you think about everything I talked about in this video. Anthony Joshua, who is sparring for the Povetkin fight. Some people are going to say that when it comes to sparring, you don't necessarily need sparring partners who fight in a similar way to how your opponent fights every single time. You don't need them to be 6'1" and be pressure fighters to help you prepare for Povetkin. You just need to work on your all-round skills, you know, have a host of different sparring partners doing different things, and that will help you prepare for the fight, because you never know what an opponent is going to do. A lot of fighters say, well, a lot of opponents, you think they're going to fight one way, but you get in the ring and they fight a totally different way. That's why a lot of fighters say they don't like watching too much tape of their opponent, because they get fixated on their opponent making certain mistakes, and they get in the ring and they don't make those mistakes. So I guess that argument is out there. I'm not saying I agree with everything necessarily. I'm just putting the argument out there as something people do say. But yeah, let me know if you guys are aware of Anthony Joshua sparring anyone who is stylistically similar to an Alexander Povetkin, and how important you think it is that he spars people stylistically similar to Povetkin. Drop it all in the comment section below. It's Hatman, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.